Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra, the best alternative to just about any alternative you can come up with after a week of surviving Nigeria. Because hey, who needs a break when real-life intricacies of Nigeria are way more entertaining, you bet. Now, just when you thought Nigerian politics couldn't get any more intriguing, Kano gives us a plot twist that rivals the new season of Bridgerton. Dearest viewer, did you know that only just 2 days ago, a federal high court in Kano decided to nullify the Kano Emirate Council Amendment 2 law? Yes, the same law that scrapped 4 of the 5 emirate councils and dethroned all 5 emirs, including Aminu Ado-Bayero of Kano State. Now, if you blinked, you might have missed it. Governor Abba Yusuf playing legislative roulette, signing the bill on May 23rd, only to have it flipped on its head just only on Thursday. And trust me, I'm with everybody on this one. The situation has left us all sitting on the edge of our seats wondering when the next week, or rather what next week on Game of Thrones for Kano State will whip up. Tell you what, I bet you this is the episode where we get to see the first look of dragons, maybe a dwarf, and finally we hear the word Dracarys uttered. Well, I can't wait. And if Kano politics saga isn't enough to keep you interested, the ongoing soap opera in Rivers State will, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara is taking multitasking to a whole new level. After Tuesday's dramatic police seal-off of the local government councils, Fubara decided that 23 local government councils in the state would now operate from alternative secretariats, because if home is where the heart is, hey, who says that you can't conduct local governance from there still? Well, what else can they do, since the secretariats are now fashionably accessorized with police patrol vans and armed officials, giving a whole new meaning to the term security detail. Apparently, the State Police Command decided to channel their inner bouncer, announcing they had taken over all the LG Council headquarters to prevent further bloodshed and maintain law and, of course, also order. Now, this all comes after a particularly chaotic Tuesday when a policeman and a member of a local security outfit were tragically killed during a clash between supporters of Governor Fubara and his predecessor, the Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike in Iberi Omuma. Yes, the same Nyesom Wike who Fubara has been embroiled in a bitter feud since last year. Well, hey, it's escalated to this point, even to the point of demolition of the State House of Assembly. I can just see it in my mind now, an image of Governor Sim Fubara riding a wrecking ball and singing, "I came in with a wrecking ball." I'm not going to sing all of it, but you get what I mean. Now, for those of you wondering if there's anything positive to talk about in Nigeria, well, hey, there is something coming out of Nigeria amidst all of this drama. And fear not, let's shift gears now to something actually that brings people together, the recently concluded Ojude Oba Festival. Yes, in the midst of all the political chaos, there's still a celebration that reminds us that what unity and culture can actually look like. Well, the federal government, in a rare moment of forward thinking, announced plans to list the annual Ojude Oba Festival as one of the festivals backed by UNESCO. Because let's face it, who wouldn't want to see our rich culture heritage getting the global recognition that it actually deserves? The Ojude Oba Festival, celebrated every third day of Eid al-Adha, showcases the rich cultural heritage of the Ijebu people. While politicians are busy playing their high-stake games, the people of Ijebu land reminded us only just last week that unity and harmony are not just words, they're actually a way of life. But before we get too carried away with our cultural celebrations, let's take a reality check and see how the Nigerian tourism sector is faring despite this wealth of activities like the Ojude Oba Festival. Spoiler alert, it's not exactly a fairy tale. But alas, the tourism sector seems to be suffering from a chronic case of potential yet to be realized. It's like owning an office space but still choosing to govern an entire state in your own backyard. See what I did there? That's a recall to the River State thing. But in any case, just when you thought we were done dishing out the drama, let's remind you, Finidi George suddenly resigned. Do you remember? Yes, the same Finidi George who had us all believing that he could bring the legendary finishing skills from the football pitch to the boardroom. Turns out he's taken the term one-minute man to a totally new level. In a classic move that would make even the most seasoned Nigerian politician proud, Finidi has left his position and by extension his team hanging. It's as if he's saying, hey, I've had my fun, now you guys figure out the rest. Maybe he's just preparing for a career in politics, because let's face it, That's some next level maneuvering. So, as we sip our coffees and laugh at the twists and turns of our beloved country, which we still love, yes indeed, we welcome you guys to Breakfast Extra, the only place where you can get your fill of snark news and a healthy dose of reality. From political dramas to cultural celebrations and everything in between, we promise to keep you guys entertained and, of course, informed. So grab your favorite mug, settle in, and let's begin as we get into the world of Nigerian current affairs. You're welcome to Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazino Appeal, and I'll be joined by my fair co-host, but of course you know, Judith Atibi. Stay tuned. Coming up, we'll be having the dailies. Good morning and welcome. This is Breakfast Extra. Like I said from before, my name is Mazino Appeal. Who was missing from that intro? Well, she's here. Judith Atibi, you're welcome. Good to have you here.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you for having you're the host.
You introduced me like the host. So
Judith walked in with a banana this morning as her breakfast, and I'm wondering whether that's going to fill you up until the end of the next 3 hours.
Well, you see, the thing is, I was pressed for time. So I hear that a banana can, so whenever you're exercising, the two things that fill you up very quickly will give you like a boost of energy.
Okay.
So either a banana or an apple.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Apples, I don't like. Bananas, I don't like the smell. What? So I'm just naturally averse to anything healthy that's a fruit. Unfortunately.
How about blueberries?
Nah, I don't like them.
What? So what do you like then as fruits?
Mangoes are perfect. Pineapples are perfect.
Listen, if you give me a mango, I would say this right now. I cannot eat it in public.
No. A mango is definitely not a fruit.
It's a private affair.
That's messy.
There's a Saturday morning, we can do this.
It's the messiest fruit you can have. Yes,
it's so messy, like it's a private affair. But once again, a very good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the Saturday edition, for Breakfast Extra. And we're so excited to be here today with you. On today's show, we're looking into matters arising as it pertains Rivers State with local council chairmen who are now locked out of their offices, and the Kano Emirates tussle as well. The reawakening given the new judgment from the State High Court reinstating Ado-Bayero as the true emir. So stay with us. We're going to analyze so much more. Also, we're going to cross away from our borders, and this time to Kenya as well, as protests continue to go on in the major capital there in Kenya over taxes. We see young people across different ages when it pertains to youths that are protesting against the tax hike. So much more all here inside of Breakfast Extra. But first, let's bring you the dailies for this morning. I'm going to get started with the Punch newspaper for a Saturday. And so we're going to pull that up right there on our screen. There we go. And so for the Punch this morning, the very first story that comes at you there is cholera outbreak. Nigeria runs out of vaccine. Adds death hit 40. You can find that story on pages 2 and 4. It says, order placed, arrival date unknown, demand outweighs supply, says NCDC boss. Unregistered tiger nut drinks caused Lagos cholera outbreak, government says. Interesting. Now, when you go to the bottom there, some entertainment stories there to catch your eye. How nanny tried to have an affair with me, single father of 4 boys. Entertainers who struggled with infertility. That's on pages 16. And beyond the green card, Nigerians find true love abroad amid cultural biases. Very interesting. Maybe that's where my true love might be as well, across the border. At the very bottom, the kidnapper seized my daughter after withdrawing 23,000 naira from ATM in Lagos, cries mother. At the very top, why police didn't evict Bayero from Nasarawa Palace. That's on CP there. You can find the story on page 9. Operators turn a blind eye as randy men at camp underage girls in hotels. Now, this story is quite interesting, and I hope that you get to read it as well. And also at the very top, no, it's a Saturday morning. We'll keep it moving. Thank you.
Alrighty now, so let's move on to the Guardian newspaper for a Saturday. And this morning, big headline that hits you on page 24 here, how sanitation inspection can check outbreak of cholera, other diseases. Now, this is very interesting because I heard from the other headline where it says we've run out of vaccines, and I'm wondering what a worrying situation we've just got ourselves in. Orders have in place, however, Well, time is of the essence as death toll reaches 40. I don't know if it's time to call a state of emergency when it comes to cholera outbreak. We use every opportunity to tell about cholera, so let me read this from the front page of The Guardian. Cholera outbreak is associated with contaminated water supply and poor sanitation, and that is why whenever we are talking about water supply, it also goes with basic sanitation. They are essential for life in the sense that without proper sanitation, our water supply system can easily get contaminated. A call to the gutters around you there. Please make sure that they're clean because you can help save this. At the top for The Guardian, Oluwaseun Joan Stephen, women, especially widows, should have equal access to resources and opportunities. An unending battle between FRC, churches and mosques. At the bottom for The Guardian, Kano emirship tussle. Lawyers, CSOs differ on Sanusi's sack by court. Governor's position. That's on page 2. We're going to talk about this first hour here for Breakfast Extra. Recruitment conflict. PSC urges Tinubu's intervention. And CBN seeks collaboration with private sector to boost economic growth on page 3. WHO announces global resurgence of cholera. And bilateral trade. Tugga co-chairs China-Nigeria Intergovernmental Committee meeting in Beijing. That's all for The Guardian for a Saturday this morning.
And we'll move now to our next story for today, as we can pull that up on the screen there. Our next story is going to be the Daily Trust for a Saturday, as it pulls up right there on our screen for the Daily Trust. And the very first headline that jumps at you there is the forgotten heroes of democracy. You can find that story on page 5 and page 6. Proper planning would have ensured significant names weren't omitted. Tinubu will acknowledge all in due course, and that's from the presidency. That's what the presidency says. At the very top there, greatest Nigerian songs of all time for their entertainment feature. You can find that story on page 12. Right next to it is, despite court rulings, Bayero hold court, and that's on page 7. What are they saying? Does that mean that we now have two stools of power and traditional stools of power? And of course, if they're holding court, both of them, we'll see how this continues to unfold. At the very bottom there, AKK gas pipeline project will transform Nigeria's economic and industrial landscape, and that's from the federal government there. You can find the story on page 5. Page 4, I beg your pardon. Federal government to sell 3 presidential jets, and that's on page 7. At the bottom there, parents helpless as malnutrition ravages 7 northern states. That story is on page 26 and 27. Well, as the price of food continues to increase, situations like this will start to come to the fore when it comes to malnutrition. Have you found out the price of, do you know the price of a sachet of milk?
No, what is it?
It's 250 naira.
Oh, up from what, 100 naira, I guess?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That is wild.
That's a lot. Oh, and about the jets. Oh, we're selling our jets now,
yes.
Are we?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Let's move on now to this day newspaper real quick. Big headline that meets you. Capitalization banks jostle to attract investors. Stakeholders in fresh capital rising. SEC unveils guidelines. At the top for this day, NERC approves 21 billion naira for procurement of electricity meters at zero cost to Nigerians. Ikeja Abuja discos get lion's share of funds. Now, where have I seen this before? I remember paying for some free meters a couple of years ago. U.S. Supreme Court upholds law barring domestic abusers from owning guns. And police beef up security at Bayero's palace, vow not to evict deposed emir. And at the top, DHQ troops deny oil thieves over 1 billion naira, deactivate 105 illegal refineries sites in 1 week. That's all the headlines for this day for a Saturday morning.
All right, move away from this day now and time to go to Vanguard, the Saturday Vanguard. Yes, the Saturday Vanguard. We move on to Vanguard now. And this one is Rivers local government lockdown. CLO, 40 CSOs plan at mass anti-police protests. And that story is on page 11. Give police 7-day ultimatum to vacate 23 council secretariats. Police action unconstitutional, provocative. And that's from APC chieftain. Withdraw all personnel from councils and that's from NULGE. Onwoche cautions youths against violence, drums support for Wike and Tinubu. Well, you can find all that on page 11. At the very top there, from Obi tells President Tinubu, stop downplaying our situation. Right next to it, Afrobeat goes global as Nigeria boosts Grammy charge. That story is on page 19. And health, groundbreaking HIV prevention drugs shows 100% efficiency, and that's on page 18. At the bottom there, federal government highlights AKK gas pipelines impact on economy. Kyari assures project will be ready first quarter of 2025, and that story is on page 5. Right next to it, there is 2 million Benue farmers sacked from ancestral homes, still languishing in camps 7 years after, and that story is on page 25. Can't go home because armed herdsmen still roam their villages. And at the bottom there, Mobad, why I'm fighting with my son's wife, and that's from his father, page 7. Oh, goodness.
Alrighty then, catch your breath, Judith. Let's move on now to the nation. Inflation to slow down in coming quarters, says Cardoso. Says interest rate hike aimed at achieving price stability. Right next to it, Emirate tussle security beefed up around Bayero's quarters. We heard that from before. And Rivers crisis, Fubara sacks traditional rulers and council chair. We're talking about that today. NERC approves 21 billion naira for discos for meter purchase. And how teenage girl subdued robbery gang and the leader. AKK gas pipeline project will transform economy, boost industrialization, and at the very bottom and lastly, SEC unveils framework for banks recapitalization. And
I think now we move away from Nigeria and cross over to the other side.
Yes, let's already cross over.
Let's do that. Let's move on.
The Saturday Monitor,
Saturday
Nation rather.
Saturday Nation, there we go. And this one is from Kenya. At the very top there, Mudavadi is at crossroads, and that's from page 6 there, page 10, I beg your pardon. Right next to it, how firms bagged 1 billion shilling. The state splashed on furniture. Ooh, furniture. And we're here crying over jets. The very bottom, the population, voters aged between 18 to 34 years expected to wield more influence in polls. Power of numbers for restless youth. Ridiculed in the past as keyboard warriors afflicted with civic apathy, young Kenyans are primed to push for change and determine political direction after the well-oiled protest against finance bill and projections that their population will bulge by 2027. And that story there's on pages 12 and more. You can find more on that. Just go on for the Saturday Monitor. And at the bottom there, let's see now projections on Generation Z population by next elections. There's a table for that. And at the bottom there, 7 days of rage over killing. Week-long show of defiance planned after Rex Masai was killed by what is believed to be a police bullet. And that story is on pages 13. So I think that's all we can take on Saturday Nation. And this one here is from Kenya.
Okay, now let's see. We have with us here another paper from outside of Nigeria, the Daily Mail. This is from Zambia. And 42 billion sub-budget drought response, fuel areas and external debt obligation prioritized. And also still from the Daily Mail, ZESCO claws back 255 megawatts from exports. And a little foreign news on there on the inside. Trump campaign gets $50 million boost from single donors, and ZDA justifies 72 billion US dollars investment. And they've got to touch on some entertainment there and other things about the Zambian economy. But that is all we can take for the Daily Mail from the Zambia. And indeed, that's it for the dailies. If I'm not mistaken, unless I'm being asked to take another paper here.
Yeah, we're taking the Saturday Times, and this one we're coming back home to Nigeria. Wives of wealthy men in Lagos dating small boys, claims Blessing CEO. Oh, my goodness.
What was that reaction?
Like, what is your business if they decide to date people?
Relevance.
Anyway.
Clout.
Yeah, well, there we go. At the very top there, Do Ondo Guba, INEC warns parties against violating campaign rules. Right next to it, $80 million Indigenous Contractors Fund, HOR, summons Ajib. Then at the bottom there, Rivers Crisis, NLC TUC threatened to reclaim local government officers from police. Wike accused of plotting emergency rule in state. Right next to it there, Genevieve Naji, how my quest for Hollywood turned me to a commodity. I think she was making a statement on the lines of the African CEO forum or roundtable discussion in Bahamas there. A very good one. She made a number of very pertinent issues was raised in that panel discussion. At the bottom there, we'll fight by bribery among CEO OAPs. We'll fight bribery among OAPs for music promotion in Nigeria. And that's Shei Allen. At the bottom there, man bags life imprisonment for raping 15-year-old in Ekiti. I would say move it a bump and chemically castrate him. Right next to it, police investigative hearing. Senate condemns NDPHC's handling of gas contracts, says management lacks capacity, competence. Federal government approves $21 billion for purchase of electricity meters. How do you buy that with $21 billion and then still ask Nigerians to pay? Oh, it's free. Sorry, it's free. Well, that's all we can take for the Saturday Times. I don't think that's all we can take. I don't think we have any more front pages there. Well, that's been the daily's front pages for now.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, coming up, we've got very interesting conversations inside the hour. The River State crisis is one we're going to be touching on, as well as the Kano Emirates tussle. Game of Thrones this week, as well as every other week since from before. It's getting very interesting, as now we've been leapfrogging emirs, and now we might be going back to Ado-Bayero. Well, we don't know. The coming week will tell, but we'll be analyzing exactly what the implications of the court ruling from last Thursday will be from now on. Do stay tuned. Coming up, very interesting big stories on your way. And you're welcome once again. It's me standing, and that means it's time for the daily strips. Well, weekly strips, as this is a compilation of all the good ones that we found from all through the week. And of course, Judith is going to be joining me as we take a look at these very interesting pictorials, depiction of real life in a humorous fashion that tell us exactly what's going on, so it's not too painful. Let's put it like that. Judith, are you ready this morning?
As ready can be. Let's do it. Fantastic.
Okay, so now we're going to be taking our very first one, and I think this one's going to be from Business Day, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to pull that one up real quick. And there you have it. Does that look familiar, people? Business Day always has a very interesting way of capturing exactly what's happening on a daily basis. We just finished with the celebrations for the Muslim faithfuls, and of course you can see exactly where that is from. If you remember, is it Esau? Was it Esau now, Judith? Who was it that was supposed to be sacrificed in the Bible?
Esau. No, it was Isaac.
Isaac. Only this time it's not Isaac, it's a Nigerian, and that's everything that we're going through. Citizen X, which is you and I, and of course everybody else who's in big agbada and very lofty hats are celebrating with their 1 million naira ram. I said 1 million naira specifically because we're going to come to a strip that shows or identifies exactly that. But that situation where Nigerians are done with the day, they're like, you know what? I'll be that sacrifice. Take me instead because I'm tired. I'm done with the situation here in Nigeria. I don't know how your week went, Judith. Was it easy for you? Is it getting harder? Do you think?
Well, yeah, some days, yes, some days, no. Huh? You know, it's zigging and zagging. We're doing our best.
We're all in this together. That's the main thing. Let's move on now to the very next strip. And now I think you're going to understand what I meant by the 1 million naira ram. Of course, Daily Trust has a very nice pictorial here depicting exactly what everybody was celebrating, or not so much, when it came to the Muslim celebrations from over the week. Did you know that it cost 1 million naira, or about, for one of those?
Look, when I read I think it was an article or a video that was saying that it was $1 million naira, I just couldn't I couldn't wrap my head around it. So much so that when you went on Twitter, or which is X, you know, there were people who were traveling, you know, to different states. They were going outside of Lagos or the major cities to actually go buy RAM, and then they were pooling their monies together to buy RAM. It was wild. And it makes sense why I only had one piece of salad meat the entirety of this holiday.
One.
Look, yes,
Also, no, seriously, your hunting came up with just one piece.
do you understand
come on.
you know, I'm trying to take my mind back to those days, right, where
It was a bounty.
you were flooded,
I
you
know, right?
But now it was just one.
Well, there are talks about a food crisis hitting us in November, or is it October, if I'm not mistaken. We were warned about what's coming, but we didn't take note, or at least the government didn't take note. But this is where we are now. Nobody can afford it. The butchers are like, you know what, we're out of business. And the rams are smiling all the way back to the, back to the stables? Let's put it so. Let's move on now to our very next strip for this morning. And of course, after this one, very interesting one here. This is The Guardian. Doctors worry over unavailability of drugs for their patients, resorts to herbs. We saw this coming now, didn't we? Even the Prince, or rather the King of England, resorted to herbs. But then again, here we are in Nigeria, not because of any other reason, but because we can't afford these drugs. With 200% increase in some of the prices of these drugs, Nigerians are resorting to herbs. And it's not like as if it's a bad thing, Judith, when you have to use herbs. It's just that since you're unable to exactly prorate the doses, that's what makes it a bit of an iffy situation. What's your alternative for expensive drugs, Judith?
Double my hustle.
Double.
You know what I mean?
Listen, is it the doubling of the hustle that the ailments come, actually?
Look,
you do know that, yeah? Because you have to stress yourself and your body and all.
I'm very lucky to not have any chronic issues or any underlying issues. I'm very blessed to be one of those who don't fall
How old
ill.
are you yet?
Yeah, well, a lady never tells her age. But I happen to have parents who have, underlying issues, and I've seen it firsthand how one day you went to the hospital and they give you a different price, and 2 days after, it was also a different price. So within the course of 5 days, the price had changed 2 times. Wow. And it's not like 5K on top, where it's like a 30% increment both times.
I know. I've seen that happen. I've been seeing that happen myself.
It's wild.
It's crazy. All right, now moving on to our next strip for this morning. Let's take a look at this one now. Daily Trust once again. Don't blame us. We became bandits because the government changed our national anthem in 1978. I think these are residual bandits from way before. And the Nigerian situation, I'm talking about banditry and the escalation of which, because of the situation of the economy, many people had predicted that this was going to happen. Somebody actually at a table once said that it'll come time when you have a resurgence of the issues you used to have in the 80s, where people would steal actual electronics just because they're hungry. And that's the problem now. People can't steal the cash no more. People can't do the regular stuff they do by pen pushing. And they're going to resort to these kinds of criminalities. It's very unfortunate. Do we have one more strip for today? I'd like to take a look at that one. Yes. Now, the Punch newspapers got this very interesting strip. This is from during the week. Now, 62,000 naira minimum wage, Labour falls politicians jumbo pay. That's a politician. And he's asking, I'm one of you guys. We can't pay 62,000 naira minimum wage. And the NLC, TUC, and everybody else are like, exactly how much do you take home? We only just saw the 22 or 21 billion naira home for the vice president. What was it 22 or 21 billion naira, Judith? What was it?
Yeah, 21 billion naira home.
Let's not forget all that went into actually commissioning it, and everything that we've been seeing, the cars that the politicians are driving, and so much more. It is a lot. However, then there is a talk about buying a private jet for the president and the vice president. Although we are selling 3, but then again, those are scrap.
Those ones are old now. Now.
Yeah,
don't you like good things?
But then look at the difference in conditions, situations, the people versus the politicians who are supposed to serve you, what they're taking home, and we're still here. And I fear, Judith, that we're losing grips on the situation when it comes to the struggle for minimum wage. We're hearing less and less and less of it out there. Is Labour giving in? Are they tired? Do the Nigerian people or populace have to fend for themselves when it comes to that? Do we want what's happening in Kenya to happen in Nigeria? I say we don't. We're not ready for that. Not now.
Right. I think that what's happened in Kenya had already happened in Nigeria. The only thing is something called 2020, October happened, and we'll leave it at that. But one thing is for certain, they have been quiet, but I think it's because the presidency said that he would step in and that he had, prepared a document and it was going to be passed.
It's been 2 weeks.
So it's been 2 weeks, right? And I think that this is where diplomacy wants to play the card to be like, okay, well, the presidency has said something. Let's see what the document is before we make a move. Now, the document, we haven't seen it. He said he has written it. It's going to the House of Assembly to be passed, and they will be, looked at, and then they will sign. He made a promise, and he didn't just make a statement. He made a promise on Democracy Day for the entirety of the nation in front of the world.
Democracy Day was, what, 22 days ago?
Yeah.
We're here now. I can't remember what it was, but how long did it take them to pass the bill for the change of the national anthem? Days, perhaps less than 5 or so, if I'm not mistaken. Now, we're still here at this point. It's 22 days since we heard that. It's been 2 weeks since he said that document has been written. We're still here, still waiting for a normal, or rather a figure for the minimum wage. 62,000 naira is getting lesser and lesser when it comes to inflation and how much it can actually buy you for. So it's a big, bad situation. It's a
big, bad situation indeed. And quite frankly, it's like, what can the NLC do and organize labor? You know what I mean? Because if you ask for a strike, and they do the strike, they call off the strike, they say that they're not doing things in the interest of Nigeria. Nigeria at this time cannot go on strike. I'm trying to make a case. I'm trying to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah, I see you doing that. I was about to shut you down, but then again, but there's still so much that they can do, quite frankly. Strikes might not be the only option. There are policies that need to be changed that can better the lives of Nigerians. There are palliatives that could be requested for free transportation, for instance, free education. There's so much more that we can actually advocate for. But maybe not minimum wage, maybe not an increase in the minimum wage. I'm also playing devil's advocate here. Please do not rush me when I step out of the studio, Nigerians. I'm actually on your side. Please, now all of us eat a bite. Do we have another strip? I'm going to find out. First off, I think we might have a foreign strip if I'm not mistaken. But let's see what we have. Now, this one's from outside Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. This is from Uganda. It's taking a look at the Kenyan situation, however, talking about, this is the Daily Monitor. This is interesting, I'll tell you why. Look at the bubbles there. Ruto must go, reject finance bill, and a call to the president. President, the tear gas won't work. The fear seems gone. And guess what the president asks? What about the internet?
Yes.
Sounds like something a Nigerian ruler, dictator, would actually say. Take out the internet. The point is, if you remember the headline we had from earlier about the population of youth in Kenya, now that's their strength, the strength in numbers. And they're not just using the numbers, they're also using the internet to fuel and push this Occupy Parliament protest. And it seems to be working. Their voice is finally being heard. They've been down under for too long. The internet is their only tool. However, if you take that away, now here is giving Nigerian politicians ideas. Please don't. That's freedom of speech we can't afford to lose, not at this time. But the situation in Kenya is quite similar to what we have here in Nigeria. And I'm happy that we're actually going to be taking a look at that inside our final hour. You want to join us because we have a very interesting guest that will be helping us analyze everything that's happening and the effect of the force being used by the Kenyan government. Do you want to tell something about this, Judith, real quick?
No, I'm also looking forward to the conversation. But more importantly, it's very interesting how it doesn't matter the country in Africa, 9 times out of 10, they always employ the same tactics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's in West Africa, Northern Africa,
subdue the populace.
It's still the same tactic that they use. And so when critics and journalists and political analysts and social analysts come out to say that the elites and also the ruling party do not care about the populace, it's only about lining their pocket and about power themselves, this particular strip, this pictorial, nicely depicts what we're saying.
Yes,
so
indeed.
It's very reminiscent of what we had years past here in Nigeria.
You're correct, Judith. Well, Judith, thank you very much. And indeed, that's as much as we can take for the streets. But we always ask you guys, if you find any of them interesting all through the week, you want to bring our attention to it, alert us, send us a message on our socials. We're at News Central TV across all the major platforms on social media. Thank you very much for joining us for the strips. We've still got more inside the hour and the rest 2 hours outside of this one here on Breakfast Extra. Well, good morning and welcome to our big story segment on Breakfast Extra. Today, we are delving into the latest development in the Kano state political landscape where significant legal and administrative actions have been taking place. Yesterday, or rather 2 days ago, a federal high court in Kano reversed the dethronement of Emir Aminu Ado-Bayero and 4 other emirs of Bichi, Rano, Koraye and Gaya Emirates. The court set aside all actions taken by the Kano state government to repeal the Kano Emirate Council Law of 2019, which had originally divided the Kano Emirates into 5 separate entities.
In response to the ruling, the Kano state government has stated that the decision indicates that Alhaji Muhammadu Sanusi II remains the Emir of Kano. Now, this interpretation was shared by the State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Haruna Isa Dedere during a press conference held at the Government House. Dedere emphasized that the ruling validates the actions taken by the government, including the dissolution of the 5 emirs and the disposition of the 5 emirs, thus reinstating Sanusi as the sole emir. Now, the trial judge, Abdullahi Muhammad Liman, ordered all parties to maintain the status quo and criticized the government for not adhering to previous court orders. Despite the judge's directive, the Kano state government views the ruling as a legal victory that supports their legislative and executive actions taken on May 23, 2024.
Now, the situation remains highly complex and contentious, so to help us understand the developments, we have with us Mr. Johnson Omede, who is a lawyer and joining us via Zoom. Mr. Johnson, you're welcome once again. Good to have you on the show here today. Hello, Mr. Johnson, are you with us? Mr. Johnson? Okay, we seem to be having a bit of an issue connecting with Mr. Johnson this morning. We had him only just moments ago, but he'll be joining us hopefully, and we'll be able to talk with him about the situation. So it's a very interesting situation coming back to this ruling, which is actually abrogating whatever it was from 2019.
Oh, absolutely.
But there are plenty of squabbles going here, back and forth. But the devil is in the detail, as I keep telling people. It's a thing of timeline. People asking why exactly Ado-Bayero should be the rightful emir of Kano State as against Sanusi, who was only just enthroned just a couple of weeks ago. Now, if you go back until 2019, when the parties that are involved were asked to maintain a status quo instance. Now, this is what they're talking about. This is where they're going back to, which at the time had Ado-Bayero as the emir. And that's what they're responding to here.
Right.
At that time, anything contested after would have had to wait in court until certain matters in court were, first of all, concluded before going ahead to talk or tell about reinstating Sanusi.
Reinstating another emir.
I think we have Mr. Johnson back with us. Mr. Johnson, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Good to have you back, Mr. Johnson. We lost you there for a minute. So first, Mr. Johnson, what are the legal grounds on which the Federal High Court has based the decision to reinstate Ado-Bayero as the Emir of Kano State? If you can please tell us real quick.
Thank you very much. The decision to virtually all the lawyers in Nigeria came to us as a surprise. The content of that decision, though yet to be released, from the excerpt we have listened to in court, suggests entirely that the issues that were brought to the court were not actually dealt with. The court based its decision essentially on what it purportedly said, that the Kano state government were in disobedience of the order of court. And this came as a consequence of the fact that when the law was assented to by the governor, the repeal emirate law was assented to by the governor, this suit was filed, and then the judge said the court haven't been aware of the ex parte application that led to an interim injunction. The Kano state governor should have stopped at that level without taking further step. But he felt the Kano state took further step and dethroned and appointed the current emir. And as such, being an order of court, the court felt that nobody is above the law, and that once you disobey the order of court, you must be punished for it. So the issue submitted to the court for decision for adjudication were not dealt with. What the court arrived at was that there's a disobedience to the order of court, and as such, that disobedience must be punished. And for him, it is the basis for which it went to reverse the action of the governor.
Mr. Johnson, real quick, we're pressed for time. We will return to this conversation after the news. But before we go for the news, I wanted to ask you exactly what that ex parte motion was that the Kano State government disobeyed. What was it exactly, and who had moved that into court?
The ex parte application gives to what we call interim injunction. Interim injunction is just an injunction temporal, pending when further applications to be made to court. And what it means is that the interim injunction was given to stop Kano State government from taking further steps in dethroning the emir of Kano, the 15th emir, and then I think there were other prayers that followed, but which were similar. These were the criticality of that interim injunction. And so it didn't constitute anything much outside any of those applications. And then by law, an interim injunction doesn't last beyond 7 days. After 7 days, it becomes automatically void unless parties go back to court and apply for additional 7 days. In totality, an interim injunction cannot last beyond 14 days in law. And none of those parties take further steps to actually reapply or ask the court to extend the lifespan of that interim injunction. And so the Kano State government, though purportedly said to have taken its action within the lifetime of that interim injunction, leading to the reversal of what they had done.
Well, Johnson, we would want to take a pause in this conversation and discussion and switch gears to bring you the news, to bring our viewers the news. But if you're just tuning in, that is Johnson Omede. He is a legal practitioner and is just discussing with us about the recent court ruling regarding the emirate tussle in Kano State. We switch gears now to bring you the news. Dashan Usman is on standby. Afterwards, we'll continue this conversation. This is Breakfast Xtra.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I'm Darshan Usman. Now we begin the news by telling you that as the death toll from the latest cholera outbreak hits 40, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control says the country does not have enough vaccines. According to the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Chidi Llyod, Nigeria has placed an order for more cholera vaccines from donor agencies, even though the date of delivery is still unknown. The NCDC boss stressed the need for the country to embrace the use of vaccines and other preventive measures to curb the spread of the acute diarrhea infection. Cholera is a food and waterborne disease caused by the ingestion of the bacterium Vibrio cholerae in contaminated water and food. Away from that, Nigeria's House of Representatives has expressed displeasure over the refusal of international oil company Ajib Oil Limited to pay its debt obligation amounting to about $80 million owed to an indigenous oil company. This was during the hearing of a public petition against Ajib, where lawmakers say acts like these can run local companies out of business. Idong Joseph reports.
Over $80 million. Because I still have equipment in the field, under rent, running. For the first time, I approached. Even when you have the equipment in the field, they refuse to pay you. They still refuse to pay me. Okay.
The petition was filed by the Kon Limited, an indigenous company run by a Nigerian, Nelson Onubugu.
And at that point
Onubugu had petitioned the House of Representatives after efforts to retrieve about $80 million debt obligation owed his company by the Nigerian Ajib Oil proved abortive. The company accused Ajib Oil of diverting the funds out of Nigeria after payment was made by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and then illegally cancelling its contracts.
in 2014, you were already owing me $16.9 million. They were owing a Nigerian contractor $16.9 million. I reported this to NAPI, reported to NNPC, everywhere, and NNPC wrote to them.
The Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, alongside that of Owando Nigerian Limited, and key staff of Nigerian Ajib Company, were invited by the House of Representatives Committee on Public Petition to respond to the allegations. Unfortunately, the Chief Executive Officer of the NNPCL and Ajib Oil Company did not attend the summons.
There is no time we have invited Melikari. Yes. And he appeared before the House, more especially in this committee.
The committee frowned at the refusal by Ajib Oil to pay its debt obligation for a job well done, and then transferring the same job to another foreign company.
I believe if this young man that is before us was a father to any of us or a brother to any of us, nobody would have been sitting here talking the way we are talking.
The absence of major parties in the matter to appear before the committee marred its efforts to resolve the dispute. The committee once again summoned all parties involved to appear before it on June the 26th. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idonk Joseph.
The Office of the Accountant General is verifying the authenticity of NNPC's claims. Now, Director of Home Finance, Ali Mohammed, stated that the audit is ongoing with updates expected at the next Federal Account Allocation Committee meeting. NNPC had previously claimed the government owed it 2.8 trillion naira in subsidy payments, but payment is on hold pending the audit. FAC meeting minutes revealed concerns about NNPC's refusal to use the revised exchange rate of 693.50 naira per dollar for converting Federation revenue. So a bit of politics now. Stakeholders and residents of Rivers State have urged the Inspector General of Police to withdraw officers and men currently stationed at the 23 local government headquarters. They argue that the deployment is hindering council staff and non-staff from carrying out their essential duties. News Central's Austin Azu, who has been following closely the development, completes the report.
The recent political turmoil in Rivers State erupted due to demands for certain political loyalists for extending the tenure of local government leaders beyond their term expiration on June 17. This ignited a firestorm of reactions, leading to groups seizing control of council secretariats and culminating in violent clashes between opposing factions. In response, the Inspector General of Police swiftly deployed officers across all 23 local government areas of the state to restore and maintain law and order. Despite the state governor's inauguration of the caretaker committee chairman and vice, the police have refused to vacate the AGAs. This defiance is effectively locking everyone out of the secretariats, disrupting access and impeding local governance. The food vendors who operate within the Port Harcourt City Council now operate elsewhere as they lament low patronage.
They open the place so that crowd people will come work. When they come work, crowd go there from there, everything will move fine.
By now, I should have been in my house resting, but people did not here to buy the food. So it affects me much because everywhere is locked. Nobody to buy. When I could come out, nowhere to sell. I'm just sitting from morning till night, be looking the road. No way for me to survive with my children.
The Rivers State NLC and TUC strongly have also condemned the police for locking their members out of their offices. They have issued a 4-day ultimatum to the Nigeria police to vacate the premises and restore unrestricted access for local government workers. They said failure to comply will result in serious consequences.
Of both NS and TUC call on the Inspector General of Police to immediately direct the Commissioner of Police Rivers State Command to allow legitimate workers of the various local government councils to access their offices. Unanimously uphold the ultimatum issued by the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NOGE, for the Nigerian Police to vacate and allow unfettered access of local government workers to access their offices without further delay.
Is that if at the expiration of the ultimatum that we have issued through NOGE for police, for the IG of police to do the needful by vacating the local government councils and allowing our members to go to work, we will be left with no other option than to deploy our union might to recover our right, because they cannot violate our right and then deny us access to daily living and then be enjoying themselves. So that is why we have put our members on red alert, because if they don't do that, we will carry out legitimate union actions to ensure that we continue to earn our living.
The union leaders also condemned instructing some political gladiators calling for a state of emergency in Rivers State. In Port Harcourt, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Governor Siminalayi Fubara on Friday announced a leadership change for the Rivers State Council of Traditional Rulers. He made the announcement at a special meeting with members of the council at the banquet hall of Government House in Port Harcourt. Fubara appointed Eze Chike Woluwodo, paramount ruler of Akbara Kingdom, as the new chairman of the council. The decision follows concerns about the council's effectiveness under the previous chairman, Eze Ona Sergeant Chidi Llyod. Fubara expressed confidence that the new chairman will foster stronger collaboration.
I would like to draw your attention to a special, I call it a special insult that was melted to this government. The council produced a calendar for the year of our Lord 2024. And the governor's picture, the deputy governor's picture, was not in the calendar. I want to ask you, does it show any sign that that leadership is working with this government? I hope you have a copy of it. Does it show that that government, this your chairman, is working with this government? So I've decided today that we have to move forward by the special grace of God. The administrative lifespan of the chairman is 1 year, which is renewable, isn't it? So at this particular hour, I have to say that with the power vested on me, the tenure of Sergeant Amusi has terminated.
And that's it on Breakfast Headlines. Now it's back to Mazino and Judith.
Thank you very much, Dashin. And of course, you know what I'm about to say. You're looking dashing. Thank you very much. Did you follow the news strips for this morning? We were talking about the price of RAM. Judith said that she only had one piece of RAM this year. How many did you find?
Just one.
Just one?
Makes the two of us, see? See? So it's not just me. I'm not the only one.
That, I was like, oh my goodness, I only had one piece of RAM, but I know if I was actually in the north at this time, I would have gotten so much more. But you know, it's understandable. The price of everything has actually gone up. The price of RAM is crazy. Like you said, 1 million. Yeah, some people actually bought theirs for that or even over. I know of someone who actually got their RAM for 1.3 million naira.
Wow. Well, they waited till too long. If they had gotten there from last month, perhaps it would have been less.
There was a time in our childhood where, you know, the things were also in the 90s during the military rule. So what we'll do is our neighbors and parents would pool money together and buy chickens way ahead of time, say like in October, November, and then it would now be like a fun thing for the children of the neighborhood to raise the chicken onto Christmas Day to kill it. I think that's what we should start doing.
Yeah.
I hate that we're going back to the 90s, but
or they would actually share the chickens to, you know, neighbors and friends and then, you know, do with the RAM.
Exactly.
Exactly. Just rear the chicken or rear the goat meat or the ram until that time. There we
Dashin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mazino.
Thank you, Dashin.
Now, if you remember from before, we're talking about the Kano Game of Thrones instance that has seen the reinstatement of Ado-Bayero as the new emir. Or is he? There is Sanusi to contend with, but then we haven't heard much from Sanusi. Earlier, we had with us Mr. Johnson Omede, who's still with us, by the way, as we continue this conversation on exactly what's happening inside of Kano State and the implications of the new court ruling.
Well, Mr. Omede, thank you so much for just being patient and waiting with us. Now, earlier in your answer, you were talking about the ruling and how it took, the entire law community by surprise. And you also said that the fine details have not been put out in terms of the document. But from the ruling, can you give us a more or less what the procedure would now be when it comes to reinstating Ado-Bayero following the Federal High Court's ruling or decision on the matter?
Thank you very much. Let me quickly give a background to what is happening so far. Now, when a substantive suit is filed before a court and there is need for certain interim measures to be taken to forestall further actions, what we do as lawyers is to come up with what we call ex parte motion. The ex parte motion is further followed by a motion on notice. Then the substantive suit itself will be filed all together before the court. Interim injunction, which is by way of ex parte application, is usually granted as a matter of urgency, which was the first application that succeeded at the Federal High Court before Honorable Justice Liman. Now, that injunction asks that the Kano State government stop any further action, should not assent to the bill, and should not proceed to depose the emir or appoint any other emir. Now, after that injunction was granted, a date was slated for the hearing of the motion on notice. That motion on notice was heard and was argued and was adjourned for ruling, which was the ruling that we had that came up on Thursday. That ruling is the ruling for motion on notice. So the substantive suit to determine the entitle of the action of the governor in removal and in appointment is still pending before that Federal High Court, still unheard. Now, what we now have is an interlocutory injunction. At this level, it will last until the hearing of the substantive suit, which will finally determine the entitle of all the issues that were submitted to the court. Now, this interlocutory injunction, from the understanding I have and from the judgment I have seen, simply reversed the action of the executive governor that all actions taken consequent upon the Kano Emirate Repeal Law, Kano Emirate Council Repeal Law 2024 is hereby reversed. It also went further to say that the Kano State Emirate Council Repeal Law remained the extant law on emirate issue. That law was not nullified. Then the last order the court gave is that parties should maintain status quo pending the hearing of the substantive suit.
Okay.
Now, the consequence of this decision is simply so that every party will remain at the position they were until the hearing of the substantive suit, which presupposes that the 16th emir, being the emir that is appointed, will remain on that position. The 15th emir, being the emir deposed, will remain in his position as the deposed emir, pending the hearing of the substantive suit before the court. It is the substantive suit that we finally, assuming the court assumes the decision to.
Hold on a second now. It's getting a bit more confusing. So what are you saying? Are you saying that the current emir rightfully currently should be Sanusi, or is it supposed to be Bayero? With the processes that you've laid down, specifically now, if you can just answer that and then I'll move on.
I will answer that specifically, yes.
Okay.
Sanusi will remain the emir.
Sanusi
That's the
remains the
effect
emir.
of that decision. Because
Okay.
if the court had not gone further to say maintain status quo, then one will begin to look at what the effect of that decision is. But what the court has said is that maintain status quo.
So this seems very different from what the headlines were carrying on Thursday and on Friday, because it was telling about a reverse to the 14th, or rather the 15th emir, whom is Ado-Bayero. However, there was a case in 1988, and this one brings to question the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court in this matter. In 1988, Tucker versus the state of Gongola made it explicit that the federal court has no jurisdiction when it comes to matters of chieftaincy, that matters of chieftaincy are supposed to be reserved at the full reserve of the state court and the state high court. So with the jurisdiction coming from the federal high court now, how does this process hold water?
Thank you very much. And that's the part I was trying to explain for us to understand, that the substantive application touching on the issue of emirate activity has not been heard. It's still pending before that court. What we have so far is an interim measure and then an interlocutory measure that will last for a period. Okay? Now, the substantive suit now pending before the court, I am very certain that the issue of jurisdiction has already been submitted to the court for its determination. And what courts often do is that they can decide to hear the entire suit together with the motion challenging the jurisdiction of the court, and then give their judgment at the end of the suit. So what we have so far is that the substantive suit has not been dealt with. So far what we have is an interim measures. But to answer your question on issue of jurisdiction, it's very clear, beyond all reasonable doubt, beyond all equivocation, that issues of chieftaincy are within the jurisdictional competence of the state high court. It does not lie within the federal high court to determine matters that touches on chieftaincy. Reasons being that the issue of jurisdiction, the jurisdiction of the federal high court is clearly spelled out in section 251 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended. And that section did not in any way whatsoever emphasize or suggest that emirate matters or chieftaincy matters is one of those matters that the federal high court can assume jurisdiction and determine. But being a question of interim measure to forestall the breakdown of law and order, the court has given these interim rulings pending the hearing of the substantive suit. Until that substantive suit is heard, parties cannot safely say, this is the emir, that is the emir. The court has proceeded in its last ruling of Thursday to say maintain status quo. Maintain status quo means all parties will remain in their current position at the time this decision is given until that substantive suit is heard.
Now, let's look at, so since until that substantive suit is heard, at the risk of preempting, what would that ruling look like for now, especially for Kano state government?
This particular ruling or the ruling that will come in substantive suit?
In the substantive suit.
Okay, so the substantive suit is going to give birth to a full-blown judgment. At that point, we will not be calling it a ruling again. It's going to be a full-blown judgment, assuming that the court decided to take it at the end of the day. But if the court hears the notice of plenary objection, then it will give birth to a ruling, either declining or assuming jurisdiction. But we look forward to the action, and we do hope we are not surprised as legal practitioners, because the issue of jurisdiction of the Federal High Court on chieftaincy matter is clearly spelled. They cannot assume jurisdiction. But we don't know, we look forward to it, because so far we have had a few surprises. I know that in the course of practice of law, where the Federal High Court cannot have jurisdiction over the fact of a matter, it cannot have jurisdiction over the law backing it. They have said that on several occasions. There are times when we bring application on fundamental enforcement. For instance, you want to, there is an issue on land, and there's a breach of right that has emanated from it, and you submit a fundamental enforcement before the court for adjudication. The court will simply tell you the fact giving birth to your application is not within the jurisdiction of this court, and as such, the court cannot hear the law that gives you power to come. So the fact of the case, which is a chieftaincy matter in Kano State, does not form part of the fact that the Federal High Court can safely assume jurisdiction. That being so, it cannot equally assume jurisdiction on any law enabling it. And as such, we are looking forward that the court will do what is right. The court will promote the integrity of the judiciary, because all eyes at this point, internationally, locally, are on the Kano State, on the Federal High Court at this moment. And we do pray that the court will do what is right, because if the court does otherwise, then it's going to spell a serious anarchy for the judiciary. It's going to spell further doom for the judiciary. At this point where we are trying the best we can to ensure that the name of the judiciary is some sort clean and remain the last hope of the common man. But if it proceeds to do otherwise, then it's going to be a new day for the Nigerian judiciary, and we do hope we don't come to that point.
Well, all eyes are on the judiciary, as you said, and we keep looking to the matter. But it's quite interesting. I want to say a very big thank you, because you sort of quelled a lot of our concerns and our questions about, you know, the ruling or by the Federal High Court regarding the matter. And the headlines I've been reading, you know, and all the news I've been reading that Bayero is now been ordered to be reinstated. But you just helped, you know, clarify what that judgment really was, or what that ruling was. So again, many thank you for coming on. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson Omide. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to be here always.
Thank you. And now that was Johnson Omide. He is a legal practitioner, and he joined us earlier today just to discuss and help us understand the ruling as it pertains Kano State Emir Torso. We'll take a short break, and when we come back on the other side, there is more on Breakfast Extra. Stay with us. And welcome back to Breakfast Extra. Now, on our next big story, we're going to be talking or discussing the celebration that epitomizes the rich cultural tapestry of Nigeria and Western Nigeria, and it's none other than the Ojude Oba Festival. Now, this annual event held in Ijebu-Ode is a spectacular display of tradition, unity, heritage, and it's known for its colorful parades, horse riding, you know, vibrant attires. The festival draws thousands of attendees from all over the country and beyond.
Now, recently, the federal government announced its intentions to list the Ojude Oba Festival as a UNESCO heritage feature, a move that underscores the festival's significance and potential to boost Nigeria's cultural standing on the global stage. This initiative aligns with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, aiming to leverage tourism as a significant revenue generator, targeting over $100 billion by 2023.
Now, however, this raises a pertinent question, and that question is, with such a wealth of cultural assets, why is Nigeria's tourism sector still lagging behind? Now, despite having festivals like Ojude Oba, which has the potential to draw international tourists and significant revenue, the sector remains underdeveloped and underutilized. So to help us explore this topic further, we have a distinguished guest to join us. But before we do that, we had our analyst, or rather our correspondent, who was live at the festival, and he covered the colorful event. Take a look.
While most Muslims across Nigeria are excited to celebrate the annual Eid al-Adha celebration, indigenes of Ogun State, and particularly those from Ijebu-Ode, have something extra to look forward to: the Ojude Oba Festival. This is an annual festival that brings together illustrious sons and daughters of Ijebu-Ode from across the globe to celebrate with one another in the presence of the governor, traditional rulers, and invited guests. Several dignitaries, some indigenes of Ijebu-Ode, were in attendance to grace the occasion, and many couldn't wait to see the various groups in elegant traditional attires as they marched around the arena, paying homage to the Awujale of Ijebu land, the governor, and other dignitaries present. While addressing the crowd, the governor of Ogun State thanked the people for showing up in large numbers and was excited about the idea of making Ojude Oba a UNESCO-recognized event in the future, as suggested by Dr. Ben Ugo, who represented the Minister of Culture and Creative Economy.
Tourism can be a powerful tool for economic development and poverty alleviation when managed responsibly and sustainably. Unquote. This festival, I must say, is being managed responsibly and sustainably. The festival not only preserves our tradition, but also creates opportunities for economic advancement, demonstrating the power of unity in driving progress. As a state, we are proud that this festival has gained national and global recognition.
And as it always is every year, the highlight of the festival was the horse display by the royal families, which lit up the arena.
I came from the UK. You understand? So if I can come from the UK, this is my wife beside me. If we can come, next year I want to bring my children to come as well. So it's just for you to know your roots. That's just the basic.
And so ends this year's festival, Ojude Oba 2024. For the illustrious sons and daughters of the land, they cannot even wait for next year to come, and they're excited that this has happened. But then for Nigeria entirely, if things go according to plan, based on what the minister has said, this festival may just be on UNESCO's list.
That was Bernard Akedi there. And Bernard Akedi, our News Central correspondent, will be joining us. He is, in fact, live with us. And we also have with us, joining us, Mr. Fagbaye Abolaji. He is the Commissioner of Culture and Tourism for Ogun State. Mr. Fagbaye, you're welcome. And Bernard Akedi, you're welcome. Good to have you, gentlemen.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for
having me.
Yeah. Commissioner, it's a bit dark where you are, but we're going to try and manage it. So, please, if you will tell us exactly what the air was like there at the Ojude Oba Festival from over the week.
Good morning. Thanks for this opportunity, and also want to thank all Nigerians that are listening to us this morning. This is a celebration, a festival of unity. It is a festival of togetherness, and it is a festival that brings, all sons and daughters of Ijebu-Ode together annually. And this is a festival, a very highly colorful festival that has spanned over the years of about 170-something years, going to 200 years in existence. And this 2024 seems to be very best, in the history of the celebration, the event. And with what we saw in this year 2024, and we believe 2025 will be more glamour, will be more spectacular than this.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was good.
Well, let me also turn to you, Bernard. You were right there at the event, and you covered this for 2024. What was the mood like, seeing, just people, there dressed like, give us first-hand experience of what it was like.
Well, thank you for having me again. It was just like the Honorable Commissioner has said. It was, it was full of excitement. There were people there adorned in different colors and attires, like you definitely have seen in the pictures and videos that have made the rounds on social media. It was electrifying. You could almost cut the atmosphere with a knife. That's how thick it was. People celebrating, sons and daughters from across the globe, all happy to come back to celebrate this event that happens just once a year. So you can imagine how it was, hotels were fully booked from like a week before the event, just to give you a live perspective of how many people decided to come back home for that event. What you saw on social media and on TV, the pictures, the videos, the reels you saw on Instagram and other apps, is but a fraction of what actually you would have felt if you were there. You had journalists, reporters, independent, private, and those working for media houses flying so many drones just to capture the feel of the entire event from above and from on the ground as well. And then, of course, the music, the horse riders, the families marching around. It was absolutely exciting.
And exciting indeed, to the point where it's so significant that the federal government is now initiating that to list Ojude Oba's festival as a UNESCO heritage feature. And I'm going to direct this question to both yourself and the Honorable Commissioner. But what impact could this have on the local and national economy? I mean, you just said international reporters were there live, hotels were booked way ahead of time. What's the impact like?
Thank you once again. Honorable Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, and we believe that this year's Ojude Oba, would have contributed a lot to the revenue of the state. And by the time the assessment is done, and definitely they will come up with the significant impact this has, gotten on the revenue of the government. And we believe that, as the earlier speaker said, that a week before, every hotel in the region has been fully booked, every eateries, everything. People come with their wear, display, selling, name it. Every people come to display their wear and, they sell, to people. And no matter what, some of them will return back and pay, their taxes, to government. And we believe that as a hospitality state, and this will generate more attraction of tourists, to our state, that we also increase the revenue of the government going forward.
Commissioner, I want to take you on that. You talked about Ogun State being a tourist state. Is the government doing enough when it comes to tourism in Nigeria, seeing as we have such great, vibrant features from your state especially? Is there enough eyeball internationally or locally on these potential tourist attractions in Ogun State from the federal government? Are they taking a look at this and saying this is something that we need to do? Are they doing enough?
Yeah, we just concluded a meeting with the Minister of Tourism, all the 36 commissioners, and we have agreed that, yes, every tourist site resides with the state. And we are in top discussion with them on how they can help the states, to develop some of the tourist sites that we have. In Ogun State alone, we have close to 45 tourist sites, both private and government-owned. Our government-owned, government cannot do it all. When I came on board, we have gone, across the 3 senatorial districts to look at the state of each tourist site, and we push our report to His Excellency President Abiodun, CON, and for him, to also go through and let's see the low-hanging fruit of these tourist sites that we, as a government, can quickly develop. And the government himself is also, the governor himself is also passionate, on PPP, that's a public-private partnership, and which we are also engaging some private sectors that can come on board and also develop some of these tourist sites, with us. And as we are engaging the tourist, the Minister for Tourism and also the Minister for Culture, they are also willing to assist in getting some of these tourist sites developed, to partner with the state government.
I mean, let me come to you, Bernard, right? You have toured the entirety of Nigeria, covering news, being at every different state. And what comes to mind is that Nigeria is rich. We have a rich heritage. The tapestry of our culture is sublime, And to tour the same, thought process that he just answered about, the tourism sector of Ogun State. If we widen that bracket now and make it, the nation in and of itself, it begs to ask a bigger question of why is it taking so long for our tourism sector to be improved? Is it the case of the federal government not paying much attention, or is it just a sector that is just overlooked? Because, I mean, in the past, there are other festivals. You can think of the Ogungu Festival, which is the fishing festival. Argungu Festival, there we go. There's the Ekpe Festival. There are different festivals that are celebrated. There's the Lebaku Festival in northern Cross River. There's the New Yam Festival that's celebrated in southeast Nigeria. So what exactly is the issue?
Thank you for the question. I honestly believe, and with all due respect to the Honorable Commissioner, I think we're not tapping into what these festivals should give us as a country, basically, concerning culture and tourism. In all fairness to Nigeria and to almost every other country in the world, the pandemic that hit in 2020/2021 really took its toll on tourism and culture all around the globe, such that even planes were not able to fly. So tourism took a huge dip in countries like Kenya, in countries like Nigeria, like in the Bahamas, where people go to enjoy tourism. And these are countries that ordinarily benefit so much, they gain so much revenue from tourism. Now, I think while some other countries have picked up, it's been taking a while for us to pick up as a country. And this is where we need to pick up the pace. Like the images you're seeing on the screen now, showing different tourist sites, Olumo Rock, Zuma Rock, the Ekpe Festival you talked about, the Arugungu Festival, the Durban in Ilorin,
Kano.
And then of course the Ojude-Oba Festival that we just talked about. There is so much that I think can be put into these festivals that will further attract people from abroad, further attract revenue. First of all, I think the environments where these festivals are being held needs to be improved upon. Again, with all due respect to the Honorable Commissioner, coming into Ogun State that day, and if you go online, you see some other side, the flip side of the glitz and glam that we've seen on social media. There were people who complained about accessibility to some of these places. If you know Lagos Ibadan Expressway very well, once you veer off from Shagamu, getting into Ogun State, the roads are not exactly fantastic, so to put it there. It's a challenge at some point. You get in there and then it's difficult to navigate your way through until eventually you get into Ogun State itself and then start getting to Ijebu-Ode. So starting with that, accessibility, proper road networking, more hotels. The commissioner has already talked about PPP, public-private partnership, which is going to be fantastic, definitely, because the government cannot do it on their own. Private sector cannot do it on their own entirely as well. So when we talk about PPP, we're also looking about some kind of incentives, some kind of tax rebates, some kind of attractive features and measures that would make more people want to invest in this festival, so that they ensure that it's going to be as glamorous as it ever can be. Some kind of partnership with airlines or states that have airports, that will be bringing in tourists from outside the country. Some partnerships with private organizations, just to break down the challenge and the heavy load that would have been on the government itself. Also, people would like to come back when they see that they have made gains from certain festivals that have happened. I've been privileged to be in certain countries around the world, and then you get to see the preparation before the festival, and then people can come out at the end to say, this is what we gained. So on the private sector, there's a lot of gain, a lot of revenue they've made, and then the government too has made certain revenues. In this case, Ogun State is largely known for adire material, and you can see a lot of that, on the women and the men who dress up that day. Imagine almost everything, say 80% or 90%, if possible, 90% of all the attire that everybody wore that day came from the state. That's going to be huge revenue generation. It was a very beautiful spectacle of Ogun State.
It was a beautiful spectacle to see all of that adire. Thank you very much, Bernard. Finally, Commissioner, I just wanted to ask, he touched on the adire production potential for Ogun State. How can local communities like the adire makers actually contribute to these kinds of festivals, help push these kinds of festivals ongoing?
Yeah, first and foremost, what we are looking at now is having a fabric, company, located in Ogun State, that will ease the production of adire. And because if they also continue to import this fabric, and anchor, do the tie and dye on it, it's going to be expensive. But if you have that fabric located within the state, and that makes it more cheaper, for the people. But we are also in touch with the two markets, that's the Toku market and Ashero market, on the possibility how the government can assist and making sure that they make that production seamless and stress-free, for them, in order to make it more affordable, to the buyers or the consumers, and we are working this together with them and also the government, making sure that we make things so seamless for them, and but for now, government is also in line with getting a fabric company that will come and locate in Ogun State.
All right, sir.
Well, all right, sir.
From now.
Well, Honorable, we appreciate you for doing this with us as the Honorable Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Ogun State, Fagbeyi Abolaji, as well as our correspondent, Bernard Akede, who is our correspondent who covered the Ojude Oba Festival. Gentlemen, many thanks for coming on. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed.
We switch our gears now to perspective, and it's a bigger question. It's a moment for introspection in Nigerian football as we talk about Finidi George's resignation. Good or bad? That's a question.
Well, I'd like to ask Favor that question because we actually have Favor who's standing by for our sports. Favor, we have a little piece written about this, but we're going to do that after. I just wanted to ask you what you thought about Finidi George's exit, his resignation, his termination, whatever you want to call it. What's your take on it, Favor?
Well, for Finidi George, I think it was just the right time for him to resign in the sense that the NFF already threw him under the bus with the activities they did. They had a meeting after that particular incident that happened in Cote d'Ivoire, and they spoke about how to also help Finidi George to, tinker things for the Super Eagles. Only for Finidi to come out of that meeting and he's seen a press release from the NFF that he will be that a foreign advisor or technical advisor will be appointed as that would succeed or would lead him, and this was not part of the meeting. So it's more like he doesn't even know what he's doing. So I think resigning was the best thing to do. We hardly see Nigerians resign in this time of the world. So it was a fantastic one for him, especially when the employers are not seeing him as a potential candidate or person to take them to the next side.
Favor, I'll tell you something, yeah? We're going to have you back. When we're done reading our piece, we've got so many questions inside of our piece, open-ended, of course, and I need a sports expert to actually tell us what they think about what we've written. All inside of our perspectives when we get back. But first, Favor's bringing us sports here on Breakfast Extra.
Hi, welcome to Sports Update. Good morning to you, Nigeria. Let's take you straight to the round ever exciting world of sports, starting from athletics, where Nigeria has made a spectacular start at the African Athletics Championships in Douala, Cameroon, with Chukwuebuka Enekwechi clinching the country's first gold medal. Now, Enekwechi set a new championship record in the shot put with an impressive 21.20-meter throw. This victory marks Enekwechi's third consecutive African Championship title, following his wins in Asaba and Mauritius. He now shares the record for the most gold medals by a male shot putter in the history of the championships. Nigeria also dominated the women's discus throw event with a clean sweep of the podium. Ashley Anumba claimed gold with a last round effort of 59.30 meters. Obiageri Amechi secured silver with a throw of 58.80 meters, while Chioma Onyekwere completed the Nigeria triumph with a bronze winning throw of 57.96 meters. Team Nigeria has sent a strong contingent of 40 athletes to Douala, evenly split between men and women competing across 20 events. The competition will go down, of course, today, day 2, as we hope to have more podium finishes from our Nigerian athletes, especially in the 100 meters, the 200 meters, and not forgetting the hurdles for Tobiloba Amuson. And now straight to the world of football. African Soccer Governing Body, CAF, has officially postponed the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. The competition was earlier slated to hold this year, but the qualifier is set to be played among the interested countries. The executive arm of CAF held a virtual meeting on Friday, and various decisions were taken. Then officially announced the women's tournament will be held from the 5th of July 2025 to the 26th of the same month in Morocco. Bayana of South Africa is the current holder of the trophy, while Super Falcons of Nigeria remains the most successful country in the tournament. Of course, last for women football in Africa, we now have, a date for the tournament, but many would say that why have a full year without a tournament and only to play that particular tournament in the next year? Lots of things, happening right here in African football. We can only hope that our ladies will be ready for this tournament. And out to the world of athletics, where U.S. sprint star Sha'Carri Richardson recovered from a shaky start to win her opening 100 meters heat in convincing fashion at the U.S. Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon on Friday. The 24-year-old reigning world 100-meter champion stumbled out of the blocks at Hayward Field before regaining her composure to sweep to an ultimately comfortable victory in 10.88 seconds. The fourth fastest time, of course, in the world this year. Richardson hopes to become the first American woman since Gail Devers in 1996 to be crowned Olympic 100-meter champion at this year's Paris Games. The Texan's quest for Olympic glory comes 3 years after she won the U.S. trials but was barred from competing in the pandemic-delayed Tokyo Games after testing positive for marijuana use. All right, interesting one for her. Let's see what she does this time around. Sha'Carri Richardson, definitely a strong name when it comes to the short distance race. We'll be hoping to see how it goes in this particular one. All right, that wraps it up on sports update on Breakfast Extra. It's been an amazing time. And of course, we'll go on a short break. And when we come back, we'll have more for you.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I'm Darshan Usman. I'll begin the news by telling you that troops of the Nigerian army in Borno State have rescued 7 women and 9 children kidnapped from their homes by terrorists. The victims were rescued in a series of coordinated counter-terrorism operations conducted by troops in collaboration with the vigilante and hybrid force. During the operation, 1 terrorist was killed and arms and ammunition were recovered. The army said troops also conducted an ambush operation in the Komala general area of Borno State. So a bit of health now. As the death toll from the latest cholera outbreak hits 40, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control says the country does not have enough vaccines. According to the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Dide Idris, Nigeria has placed an order for more cholera vaccines from donor agencies, even though the date of delivery is still unknown. The NCDC boss stressed the need for the country to embrace the use of vaccines and other preventive measures to curb the spread of the acute diarrhea infection. Cholera is a food and waterborne disease caused by the ingestion of the bacterium Vibrio cholerae in contaminated water and food. Meanwhile, the Lagos State suspected cholera cases have risen to 421. The Commissioner for Health, Akin Abayomi, disclosed this on Saturday. He noted that the Emergency Operations Center, in collaboration with all relevant partners, is actively engaged in contact tracing, community-based surveillance, awareness campaigns, sample testing, and ensuring that confirmed cholera cases receive appropriate medical treatment. On Friday, the Commissioner confirmed 35 cases out of the 417 suspected cases and 24 deaths across 20 local government areas of the state. Away from that, the Nigerian government has begun an audit of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited's claim of 2.7 trillion naira in fuel subsidy debts. The Office of the Auditor General of the Federation is verifying the authenticity of NNPC's claims. Director of Home Finance, Ali Mohammed, stated that the audit is ongoing with updates expected at the next Federal Account Allocation Committee meeting. NNPC had previously claimed the government owed it 2.8 trillion naira in subsidy payments, but payment is on hold pending the audit. Governor Siminalayi Fubara on Friday announced a leadership change for the Rivers State Council of Traditional Rulers. He made the announcement at a special meeting with members of the council at the banquet hall of Government House in Port Harcourt. Fubara appointed Eze Chike Woluwodo. paramount ruler of Akbara Kingdom, as the new chairman of the council. The decision follows concerns about the council's effectiveness under the previous chairman, Eze Ona Sergeant Chidi Llyod. Now, Fubara expressed confidence that the new chairman will foster stronger collaboration.
I would like to draw your attention to a special, I call it a special insult that was melted to this government. The council produced a calendar for the year of our Lord 2024. And the governor's picture, the deputy governor's picture, was not in the calendar. I want to ask you, does it show any sign that that leadership is working with this government? I hope you have a copy of it. Does it show that that government, this your chairman, is working with this government? So I've decided today that we have to move forward by the special grace of God. The administrative lifespan of the chairman is 1 year, which is renewable, isn't it? So at this particular hour, I have to say that with the power vested on me, the tenure of Sergeant Agusi has terminated.
Our primary assignment as traditional rulers, I record, is to ensure that peace reigns in our various domains and in the state. So we need to work together. That is why we are here. I want to thank the governor and this administration on behalf of all of us. We have to do the needful and ensure that there is peace in the state.
And that's it on Breakfast Headlines. Now, it's back to Mazino and Judith.
Thank you very much, Dashin.
Thank you, Mazino.
Dashin, we're going to let you go now because we want to go straight right into the Finidi George resignation that we're talking about with favor from before. But thank you very much for bringing us
on. All right, thank you, Judith. Thank you, Judith.
Now, moment for introspection in Nigerian football. The resignation of Finidi George as the head coach of the Super Eagles has sent ripples through the Nigerian football community. The Nigerian Football Federation, NFF, Executive Committee's eventual acceptance of his resignation after initially hesitating due to an unsigned letter has raised significant questions about the dynamics within Nigerian football management. Finidi's decision to step down was catalyzed by the NFF's appointment of a foreign technical advisor to oversee the Super Eagles coaching crew. This move inevitably leads to introspection. Why did the NFF feel the need to bring in foreign expertise? And what does this say about the confidence in local talent? Are there underlying issues in the relationship between the NFF and its local coaches that need addressing?
Now, in his letter to NFF President Ibrahim Gusso, Finidi highlighted the impact of the changes within the Super Eagles technical crew, which he had carefully assembled. Now, this brings to light further questions about the respect and authority given to head coaches in Nigeria. So how can the NFF create an environment where the strategic decisions of head coaches are valued? Is there a way to incorporate foreign expertise without undermining the leadership and vision of local coaches? As the NFF prepares to appoint a new coach before the 2025 AFCON qualifiers, the timing of Finidi's resignation presents additional challenges. Many are curious about how this abrupt change will affect the team's preparations and morale, and what strategies can be employed to ensure a smooth transition that minimizes, disruption to the team's performance as well.
Now, this resignation also prompts a broader reflection on the state of Nigerian football. Are local coaches receiving adequate support and resources to succeed? Another question, what measures can be taken to build a sustainable future for Nigerian football that can balance the need for external expertise with the development of homegrown talent? Finidi George's resignation serves a critical moment for Nigerian football to pause and also reassess its direction. It is an opportunity to ask difficult yet necessary questions about the values, strategies, and relationships that define the sports in Nigeria. This event will definitely influence future coaches and players' appointments. Whether it will lead to positive reform within the NFF or further entrench existing challenges remains to be ascertained, however.
Well, ultimately, Finidi's departure should inspire a period of reflection, introspection, and dialogue within the Nigerian football community. As the Super Eagles look ahead to the AFCON qualifiers and beyond, the hope is that this turning point will foster meaningful changes and a renewed commitment to the growth and success of Nigerian football. Now, this might sound like that 50 Cent track called 21 Questions. But as we segue, or rather we did have sports this morning, but we're going to try to bring Favor back into the house and to ask our in-house sports announcer, which of course, Favor, their opinion about the resignation and how it will, affect football in Nigeria going forward. Now, I was, having a conversation with them earlier, and he joins us in about a moment. And one of them is, was the resignation spurred because of the abysmal performance in the qualifier games, or was it just that we didn't give him a chance? There's so many conversations surrounding this, but Favor joins us now. Favor, welcome back and good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Judith. Talking about the Finidi George issue, it's a very deep story. I mean, yes, of course, when you look performing as a coach or whatever functions you are playing in the world of football, there's always a position of either being sacked or asked to resign. For Finidi George, yes, you would say he just played 2 games. That's talking about South Africa and Benin Republic. But Nigeria were already in a very tight situation before he took the job. Then also, you also look at the angle of NFF. We lost, or we sacked our coach, our former coach, Jose Pesero, in February after the Nations Cup. It took NFF over 2 months to appoint a new coach. Now already they set a template for the next coach to fail. Because if you are going to succeed, steps should be taken immediately. Ghana, for instance, sacked the coach, sacked their former coach and got Otto Addo almost immediately after the Nations Cup. So he had time to prepare, with the Black Stars of Ghana, and they yielded result at the last qualifiers. So for Finidi George, I think for himself, he had to take the fall in the sense that he knew that whatever situation he was at the moment, there was lack of respect. The players he doesn't have the players under him in the sense that we had players who were disrespectful in some words. I mean, I saw the way they reacted to him, even while in training. So he didn't really have full control of the team. And he looked at the fact that he went into a meeting with the sports minister and the NFF. In the meeting, it was said that, Finidi, we're going to support you. We don't like the result we are seeing. Whatever you need to succeed, we're going to ensure that we have to do that, and we'll give you our full support. Finidi left Abuja for Port Harcourt and saw a press release as he landed Port Harcourt saying that a foreign expatriate will be appointed to take over the team, and his salary will be reduced, allegedly, from what he was earning to a lower amount. That, to me, looked like a slap. In sense.
Yeah, sorry to cut you there, but my qualms is even why go bring a foreign technical assistant? Why not find within, to continue? Does it mean that the recipe for success is foreign or, outside recruitment? But before I let you answer that question, we went out into the streets of Lagos, Lagos State, and we asked, residents of Lagos about, Finidi George's resignation, good or bad? And here's what they had to say. Take a look.
In the technical aspect, I will not think that the guy is, we will say that the guy is a legend in Nigeria. Yeah, we agree, but you can't, I don't even know whether I went to coaching course. Because number one, you have not by the name. Someone will just say, if you go to coaching course, you must have plans, have formation. He said the team does not need formation. That's wrong. First game we saw it, second game we saw it. I know on more aspects, I don't think that Nigeria will qualify for World Cup. I was speaking out my mind. That's the truth.
The reason why I feel like Finidi resigned was because he couldn't actually stand the shame of you getting a job in the first instance and everybody's looking up to you, and primarily I think there's an indifference in the team. If you ask me, there's an indifference inside in the team, because the likes of Boniface, he was meant to start, he was substituting them, and really Nigerian football has to be what's it called, closely watched. This is a very big mistake, and I feel like 2 or 3 or 4 times we've not smelt the World Cup because of these similar mistakes. So I think we should just go back to the management and resolve with the idea of changing coaches and local coaches and all that. Let's just make up for foreign coaches.
I think we should adjust in the way we think. I think we should get a good foreign coach. I think the solution is not the local coach. I realize that most times we go 1 step forward and we go 2 steps backwards. By hiring a foreign coach, probably not the best foreign coach, but at least they used to give the team a little bit of development and adjustment. So at a point, we'll go back to the local coaches and they'll bring us back. I think we should go for foreign coaches.
We need a foreign coach, for crying out loud. We need a foreign. He's not too good for that. That job is too big for him. So to resign now is even better for him to resign himself. So we can look for a better coach to handle the team. He has his own reason for resigning, so I don't doubt him. Anything he wants to do is his own choice.
Coach resignation is certain for the country, because I believe the coach should be able to handle his team properly. Like the Ferguson of Manchester United, the way they handle their backroom staff and footballers, he should be able to do that. But at the same time, I believe the resignation is a result of the live feed Osimhen did, contributed to it. I believe NFF, that happens to be people that employed him, should know better about that. But me, I believe he is capable. But at the same time, he should have been more cautious, because there are bigger players in the team. He should be able to relate with them very well, so as to get the interest of the players. Well, I prefer a local coach at the moment, provided he's able to instill the discipline into the team. That's what matters.
I feel Finidi Llyod was a good coach. He's a good coach, but he didn't start on time with the team. He wasn't given the opportunity to train with the team, to select his players, and that's the reason why he couldn't perform. And I felt he shied out under pressure, because if he had taken he knew what he was getting into. He knew the job he was taking. He should have given it one more go, or maybe listen to his technical partners or team, when he had the issue, I think, with Osimhen, or whether to play Boniface or not. So he should have listened to his technical team and not take rash decisions by himself, and shouldn't have shied out from the team. I feel that the chances of Nigeria qualifying for the World Cup is very slim, and for us not to, by the time we'll be qualifying, Boniface and all of our good players will be getting old and stuff like that. So I think Nigeria needs to do better on that. I felt he had some pedigree, but on the international, international stance, I don't feel he's right for the job. I felt we should have stuck to a foreign coach, or if a Nigerian coach was to take over the national team, they should have started right from the day one, not just come in and at an emergency time when we are down by how many points and start looking for some sort of first aid treatment and giving it to a Nigerian coach. I didn't feel he has the pedigree to handle the national team at this critical time.
Well, there you have it, Favor. A cross-section of Nigerians telling they want a foreign coach or not. Somebody actually mentioned the Osimhen instance. Real quick, we're out of time, Favor, okay. But do you think that was also potentially perhaps one of the reasons, his lack of grip in the team?
Yeah, a lack of grip in the team, but then if you come into a job in Nigeria, especially with the Super Eagles of Nigeria, you don't have total control of your team. Whether you like it or not, yes, you'd want to say their reports, but we all know that the coach doesn't have full control in the sense that the players released are not solely from the coach. We have forces already around him that, will dictate things to him. Let's not also forget that in Nigeria we respect the foreign persons than our own. I mean, take a look at it. The salaries being paid to Jose Pesero is over $55,000. That is not even up to what Finidi George earned. Look at Genotro, who took charge of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He had more in terms of the amount he got. Secondly, let's look at also the attitude of players. Our players are spoilt these days. Look at the Osimhen issue and how it was handled. The NFL never came out to say anything about it, if it was true, if he said so or not. But it came out to debunk the reports that says Osimhen has been banned. It shows you where the NFL also lies. It looks as if in the national team right now, we are not yet to see a lot of it. And some persons also spoke about Boniface. But let me let you also know that Victor Boniface is not 100% fit. If you look at Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen, he was not starting games. He barely starts any of the games in the last few matches. He was always coming from the bench. Even the final against Atalanta, he came from the bench late in the second half. So the coach also needs to know how to manage this thing. A lot of things say, oh, let's play Boniface on the beginning of the game, but he is not 100% fit. Frank Onyeka, the same thing. He played the last game. He did not play the last game in the Premier League for Brentford. He was not even in that game. That's to show you also that he wasn't 100% fit. But these players will still tell you we are fit to come into camp. William Truss Ekong, since after AFCON, he had not played any game for Greece, for his club in Greece, PAOK. But the same fans will come out to say, why not play Truss Ekong? He played a charity game in Uyo. A charity game is different from a competitive game. This is somebody who has not played a game since February, and you want him to walk straight into the national team. I think we should cut Finidi George some slack. But Finidi George's own issue is the fact that he did not have the grip of the team. This is somebody who has played at the highest level. He has the very best of licenses as a coach. He should have been able to tell the boys, I've won the Nations Cup, I've won the Champions League, you should respect me. So this is also the area I think Finidi George also did not do well as a coach. And also the job, I think the job actually was bigger than him. With due respect to Finidi George, I mean, before now, he just coached Eimba Football Club. There are many coaches who have won the league.
Do you think it was bigger than him, or it's just that there's a difference between being able to handle a managerial role, so to speak? There's some persons who just wants to get the job done and not ready for the politics that comes with, you know, being a manager. They're not ready for that. So there's a certain type of quality or charisma that you would have to take on that job. And he might not be there yet. But I'm so glad that you're finally making a case for him. Because the last time we had this conversation, you were no for Finidi. But I'm so glad you see it from my own point of view this time.
Well, at the end of the day, we all know that there's a reason why an Olise, the NFF will never look at an Olise because he is a one-man squad. He likes to do his things his own. There's a reason also you will not also look at Siasia because he's a one-man squad. NFF most times have shown us with their indices that they love getting a coach. They can actually box and actually say, okay, we want this in your team. But trust me, for Finidi George, due respect to him, he has got the experience as a coach. But then the Super Eagles is different from club-side football in Nigeria.
We'll see what will happen in the next coming week if they decide to employ a foreign coach. And let's see what the foreign coach can do now. Maybe they can pull the guys to do their jobs this time. Hey, Favor, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And now we switch gears. We move away from our perspectives, and this time we come to Weekend Warrior. All right, this is a very exciting one for all of us. It's a special, welcome. It's a special edition of Weekend Warrior, and we're going to be talking about something very exciting. Do you want us to go on a break, or we just continue?
Let's do a quick break.
There we
when
go.
we get back, we'll be right inside of our Weekend Warrior segment.
Stay with us. And you're welcome back. It's time for this special edition of Weekend Warrior. And I'm really excited for this one because we're going to be shining a spotlight on extraordinary individuals that are making a difference in the world. And this week, we're celebrating World Female Ranger Week. It's an initiative by the international NGO How Many Elephants, and is dedicated to amplifying the voices of female wildlife rangers globally. Now, these incredible women are on the front lines of conservation. They're protecting our planet's wildlife and also inspiring future generations. And we'll be speaking with, some of these remarkable rangers in just a moment. But first, we would like to meet the founder of this impactful initiative.
Yes, her name is Holly Budge. Now, she's the founder of How Many Elephants and World Female Ranger Week, and she joins live via video chat. Holly, thank you very much for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good. Now, Holly, first off, you've patrolled with multiple ranger teams across Africa. Would like you to first give us an idea of what it's like being a female ranger and in Africa, and how much impact you've brought to this sphere.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the very rare privilege of spending much time on the front line with all female and mixed ranger teams across Africa. And I'm just blown away by the female rangers that I've met. You know, these ladies are making such impact on the front line. So, you know, I've spent time with the fully armed Akashinga Rangers in Zimbabwe, the Mara Elephant Project, and Big Life Rangers in Kenya, to mention just a few. And these ladies, they've got courage, they're brave, and the impact they're making is tremendous. So that was my inspiration for launching World Female Ranger Week, which is now in its fourth year. So this is a campaign to celebrate and support female wildlife rangers around the world and amplify their voices in the global media.
Let's talk about, you know, some of the key goals for this year's World Female Ranger Week. Share with us some of the key goals for this year's edition.
Yeah, so the main goal here is raising awareness, sharing their stories so people know about the impact female rangers are making. But also it's about raising money as well. So I have this expression, conservation without funding is just conversation. So it's about joining the dots between donors and direct action conservation efforts. It's also about promoting gender equality in conservation. So I'm working with around 4,500 female wildlife rangers over 18 African countries and many more worldwide. But even though women are making huge strides forward, they're only 11% of the global ranger workforce is female. So there's still much work to do on that front. But last year we got 500 million views in the media around this week. So this year we're really trying to keep pushing those boundaries and keep getting these stories out there in the media.
Now let's meet those women who are making a change. Let's meet some of the incredible female rangers, starting here in Nigeria, located at the Cross River National Park in South Nigeria, which is one of the country's most important conservation areas. Please welcome to the program Caroline Olori. She is a conservator of park and she joins us live via video chat. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm grateful to be here to this time.
Thank you. Okay, can you tell us about some of the unique challenges you face as a female ranger, I mean, in Nigeria, and to begin with, you know, South Nigeria?
Yes, actually, just like Holly has said, we have the rangers out there protecting biodiversity. In Nigeria, we have 7 national parks. The majority of the rangers are males. So, but we have these females, around about 10-20% of the entire workforce of the National Park Service are females. And they are in the forest just like the male. So in Nigeria, we don't have an all-female ranger patrol, but we go along with the male counterparts. And of course, when you're working with the men out there in the field, we are protecting wildlife. We have communities that are surrounding these national parks. And so going to the forest as women, sharing tents with the male counterparts, as a woman, you know, it's not that easy. But we see women that are so passionate about the protection. Generally, naturally, women are conservators. Women conserve. No female will eat food and make sure it's finished. They must keep some for the family, for the children. And so we have these women that are working out here, very passionate. Some of the challenges, like Holly has equally mentioned, is the imbalance. Now, it will interest you, for several years, more than 3 decades of the National Park Service, I am, for now, the only female protecting and managing a national park. Cross River National Park is a very unique ecosystem, very diverse, and the richest part of Nigeria's biodiversity. And so to manage it is not a very easy task. It's a very important that as a female with the passion to protect what we have, I was, by God's grace, using the Conservator General, who himself has been so inclusive as he came in. I'm talking about the current Conservator General of the National Park Service, Dr. Ibrahim Musa Goni. In 2017, found it very important to bring me up as a woman to control the national park. There has been the challenge of initial resistance. We can't have a woman to control the managers, but we have been there in the field. In the field, there's no difference between a male and a female. We patrol together, we arrest. In fact, sometimes when they arrest, they can handcuff you with the culprit, because most parts of Cross River National Park particularly is unaccessible vehicular. There's no vehicular access, and so we have to trek in and trek back to the main road where the vehicle stops with the culprit. With that and carrying your backpack, no person carries a backpack for a woman. Nobody says you are a woman, give me your backpack. As heavy as it is, the women carry it equally. And so that is how we have been protecting our biodiversity back here in Nigeria, both male and female. In fact, many patrols are led by the females. I have led several patrols where we have made arrests. We have a current challenge, which is a mining issue. As a controller of the national park, I decided that we must get to the mining site, and then I had to lead the patrol. And in that patrol, we had arrests of 10 persons mining in the park. And of course, we have to find a way of bringing them out for prosecution.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
Now?
Thank you.
The number of women involved is still relatively low. But we have been making some progress anyway.
Thank you, Caroline. Now, next we journey to Kenya to meet Karen Yegon Chiptu, a Maasai woman and the first recipient of the World Female Rangers Award. We're also going to be taking a look in Zimbabwe as well, but Karen shared her achievement with the Mara Elephant Project, the highlights of her work and what it means to her to be a role model for other women in her community. And apart from that, if we also want to talk about Zimbabwe, we meet Margaret Linat. Now, she's a ranger, sergeant who has been a ranger since 2017. Margaret told us what inspired her to become a ranger, the rangers she continues to face, and also how she continues to overcome these challenges, rather. Let's take a look at that.
My name is Karen Yegon. I'm a Mara Elephant Project Ranger. I'm working in Mau Forest in Alpha Team, whereby I'm a commander. I'm leading 10 rangers, which 8 of them are male, and 2 of us we are female rangers. And I'm also a trainer. I was able to train medic training, that is first aid training, in Rukinga Ranch. And I've been able to train almost 4 groups of rangers. And these skills have been able to be used outside there by the rangers, and also I myself have been able to use these skills in the community and also in our ranger stations. And also a survival skills instructor, that's the recent course I attended. And also I'm a drone operator, and we've been able to use the drones. We're using our drones in Mau or in Mara. So I've been able to use drone to scare the elephants away and also to survey the area. So that's what I'm basically doing in Mara Elephant Project. Being a role model, it's good. I feel so good because when I'm out there in the community can see that everything is possible. They can see it from me, not from any other person, but they can basically see it from me, because when I'm out there, I'm able to do as I said earlier, I did the first aid to the community, and they were able to ask me where did I gain that skills from, and I was able to tell them, being a ranger is not only putting on the uniform, but there are some other things you can be able to do. So I'm empowering some female who are there in the village, that one time they will join us in this industry, because not only men can do it, even us as female, we can do it best.
My name is Margaret Darawanda. I come from a village called Nyamakate, that is in Murungwe district, Zimbabwe. I joined Akashinga in 2017 and have been serving as a ranger for 7 years now. I was inspired to join Akashinga because of some of my females that I work with. I remember as we were waiting by the training center to be interviewed, most of the ladies from my community, they were not showing fear. I doubted myself so much. I did not know what kind of a job that I was getting myself into. But because I was vulnerable, I was sitting at home, I wasn't doing anything. I just came to try. But seeing those courageous women that were there, and as a new system that was being developed in my community, because whenever this kind of jobs were introduced, it was only the males who were given the chances. But right now, it was a turnaround. It was a new thing that was coming in my community. And every woman, every lady from the village, they were so eager and interested. So I told myself, because of all these 100 females that were here gathered, they were just like me, and I had to try myself because I was like them, regardless of being a female. We were getting ourselves into this kind of a job which is risky, and not many people believe that a girl child can be in the bush working as a ranger in wildlife protection. So I was there, and I gained confidence and strength as I went through the 6 months training that was very tough and difficult, having to learn all the survival skills in the bush, because you have to meet up with dangerous animals and you have to meet up with armed poachers, and most of the poachers, they are males, while I am a woman working against the males. But because I passed and successfully completed my basic ranger, as I had the support and encouragement from my colleagues, I gained my strength and I committed myself to become a conservationist and also to continue and elevate in this kind of a job. And I've become a sergeant through this time due to commitment and the sacrifice that I've given.
And that's Margaret there, all the way from Zimbabwe. We also had Karen from Kenya there. They are two of the women that we are celebrating for World Female Ranger Week. Now, these stories that they have shared, their stories, as well as Caroline's story and Holly's story, has highlighted the incredible dedication and impact of female wildlife rangers worldwide. Now, World Female Ranger Week not only celebrates these women, but also calls for more support and gender equality in conservation. And that was what was very pertinent in all of their stories that they shared. So if you want to learn more and find out how you can help and contribute, make sure to visit How Many Elephants website. Again, the NGO is How Many Elephants website. And yeah, well, many thanks to you, Holly and Caroline. Thank you guys, ladies, for joining us on Weekend Warrior. Also, Holly, if you don't mind sharing with us your social media handles and where people can go make a donation, if you can.
I've got one question for Holly. Holly, Caroline, I don't know if you guys have met, but especially that Caroline is in the south of Nigeria, where we have 78% of Nigeria's flora and fauna, if I'm correct. Can you tell us exactly how people respond to female rangers and rangers generally when it comes to conservation of wildlife in Nigeria? I'm very curious. The people that you meet, are they appreciative of the work that you do there, Caroline? And then, Holly, you can tell us your experience as well. But Caroline, go ahead.
Okay, I think female ranger is that now see it as a profession they can join. And so when you get to communities, they are happy. I want to be. In fact, we have a program where female rangers go to schools and they are happy, they want to identify with us. And that, just like I mentioned earlier, the population of women. And now one major issue too we have that the communities before now, communities surrounding the park, they don't give a damn when they have meetings, whether they are women interacting with them. You see women come around, do their participation, even not protect very much if the communities are not carried along.
All right, Caroline, I think we're having a problem with the
least
connection
achieve
there.
that.
It's cutting in and out. But let me move on now to Holly. Holly, you've been working with these women for a very long time, even if you're working with them remotely. And of course, your NGO, How Many Elephants. What's been your experience when it comes to the interaction with people on the outside when they meet female rangers? Are they appreciative of the work that they do?
Yeah, I think most people from the outside are very appreciative of the work that female rangers are doing, and the female ranger movement is growing rapidly because they're proving to be so successful. But also, the more women I talk to, the more female rangers, social stigma is still a big problem. So, you know, that might be their families, the communities, or the broader picture that there's lots of people out there that still think women shouldn't be working in these roles, and that women shouldn't be out sleeping in the bush or in the forest with men that they're not related to or not married to. So this is still relatively new ground, but the overall sort of consensus is that female rangers are doing amazing work. And this year, World Female Ranger Week, I'm seeing more and more male rangers coming forward saying we totally support the work of our female colleagues and we really want to support them. So that's a huge step forward. And this campaign is about celebrating women, but it's not about excluding men or male rangers. So I just wanted to put that in there. And also you can find out more at worldfemalerangerweek.org. is the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Holly. I'm guessing that you started this NGO out of love for the elephants, if I'm correct.
Yes, it's all started with the elephants, and then it led on to me patrolling on the front line. My background is adventure, so I've climbed Everest, first woman to skydive Everest, and it's a whole different adventure patrolling on the front line with these incredible women.
Wow, that's exciting. You live the life I would love to live. Unfortunately, I'm stuck in a studio and you're out there experiencing the world with wildlife. That's grand. I can't ask for anything better.
Well, likewise myself. I'm a huge fan of elephants, and I adore elephants. Oh, yes, I am. I adore elephants. And I cannot, look, one of the things that make my life complete, a dream of mine that I don't like to share, I don't know why I want to share this on national television, but is to go to a sanctuary and spend at least maybe a week, you know.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, well,
Live
show
more.
off.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you,
Caroline.
ladies.
Thank you indeed. I really appreciate your presence here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What's the website again?
The website is worldfemalerangerweek.org. So go on there and make your contributions today. You can also go on to How Many Elephants website as well and go find out as much information as you can. Holly, many thanks again for coming on, as well as Caroline. We appreciate you for doing this with us, ladies.
I can't believe you haven't been out to a National Conservation Center and spent time there. I'll list them for you. Hold on. Hold my coffee. Now, you can start from here in Lagos.
No, what I mean like a sanctuary for just elephants and like...
Elephants.
Yeah.
I will tell you something. If you go to the Okomu National Park, only just here in Edo State, you have the chance to actually experience elephants, which was one of the first places. No, it was the second place I experienced elephants. And these creatures are, you see them on TV.
Yeah, it's nothing compares. Magnificent.
Nothing.
Magnificent.
They might be dirty and smelly.
Yeah,
but they are magnificent creatures.
Yeah, I cannot wait. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot wait. But I think it's more for me to like, volunteer at a sanctuary, you know what I mean? Like just 1 week, wake up in the morning, you know, go feed, you know, take them into their herd, you know, give them medicines as is needed.
Yeah, not that easy.
And
that's
not that easy.
Veterinary medicine there when you study, but you are on the right track.
Yeah, I would like that very much.
I was very, very jealous of my friends who were posted back when we were doing the NYSC, who were posted to Edo State and Okomu especially, because that's what I wanted. They got to experience this on a daily basis. Imagine waking up with baboons on your window.
No.
And stuff like that. Very interesting. Absolutely enjoyed their stories, and I wish that I could have. So right after NYSC, I made it a decision to visit national parks across Nigeria. And I'm hoping that before the end of this year, I will make a return to Yankari once again, which was the first time I actually saw an elephant. You'd think that they aren't in the north, but you have elephants at the Yankari Game Reserve.
Yeah.
lions, especially baboons, and these creatures think like human beings.
And speaking of, Caroline's, the park that she works at, the conservation park, also has a bunch of all of these baboons and I think monkeys as well and chimpanzees that are very, very
almost humanly intelligent.
Not just, but they're also specific to that rainforest area. They're indigenous to that rainforest, and they are slowly going extinct because people are killing them and eating them. I don't know how you're killing monkeys that are close to your DNA and the primates family life. I don't know why you're killing them.
Don't knock it till you try it. Monkeys are delicious.
Well, that's a human being.
I've never tried it, but they are
That
delicious.
is your cousins in DNA. Why are you eating it?
Wow.
But anyway, so when you go there, the animals there, all of the apes that you find there, they're just, it's amazing to see the amount of work that goes into that conservation. So whenever you're around that part of the city, part of the country, neck of the wood, you should check it out.
I tried once, ended up in an accident. We'll do it again.
Hey, sorry, try.
But thank you to everybody who's joined us since 8 a.m. this morning as we talked about so many issues. We talked about the Kano emirate tussle, and that's a bit confusing, but let's see what the week coming will unfold regarding that. And there's still plenty, of course, happening inside of River State that we couldn't get to touch on
unfortunately.
today. But that is a drama that everybody should continue to follow, because I do not know who's ruling River State at this point, if everybody's busy going about chasing or being chased. Local government chairman is what I'm talking about.
You know.
In any case, it's been a grand week, or rather grand start
day
to the weekend this Saturday. But we're not done yet. We get to do this again tomorrow for our Sunday edition. So here's what we say goodbye for a Saturday edition. But join us again tomorrow, 8 a.m., bright and early, as we bring you Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazima Peel.
And I'm Judith at TV. I'll see you on Sunday. Goodbye.